We're live. Good day, everyone. Currently, because I am in the laundry room, the dryer's on right now.
No, it's the washer.
Oh, it's the washer. Can we forego washing our clothes for a moment, or should we just let it run its course?
Well, it depends on how noisy it is. Let us know if you can hear it a lot.
So, this is what happens when you're in the laundry room. You're stuck between the jackets, shoe thing, and you're at the behest of the washer and dryer. So, Jake, as you're doing this, turning this into the podcast, I apologize. So look, here's the gig tonight. Let's jump in. Ready to just jump in?
No.
Well, no, I'll do my little intro thing, then I'm going to explain what you're doing,
Okay.
so that we can tell people how we're becoming more organized.
As we seem unorganized?
Yes, because Saint Edie is taking care of things. So, Jake, you can start the podcast now. My name is CJ Reynolds, and if you are new here, this is my YouTube channel. I call it Real Rap with Reynolds, which means real talk. So my students talk about when they say they need to have real rap with Reynolds, meaning they have to have a real conversation with Reynolds. It is open, it is vulnerable, it is sometimes messy, and so that's what we're trying to do here. We are creating, in essence, a safe space on Sundays for teachers to talk about things that are on their minds, to get encouraged for the week, to find motivation, to share a little bit of what's going on, especially within the crazy times that we have going on right now in the world. So the gig here is you drop a question in the comment section. If you could put Q or question, like Scott Ordway always does, that would be really helpful because we can see it. This evening, we're doing things a little bit different because my helper outer, Saint Edie, is going to help us out, and she is going to actually take your questions and then put them into a Google Doc for my wife, who sits next to me, the not-so-secret wife. And that way, like last week, if a question hangs for too long, it just disappears into the ether and we couldn't find it. So this way, no one's questions will be lost.
Hopefully.
Edie will have hope. Babe, Edie's in charge here.
Well, you started us like literally so late. You could have started 5 minutes early to give Edie and I some a little setup time. So now we're like.
I was at the food store.
I know.
Buying a curious assortment of things at the food store this week. I bought kimchi and
Capri Sun.
avocados, and then a Capri Sun. It was a curious. I looked like I was thinking about health, and then I just gave up on it. So look, if this isn't enough, I have a book. It's called Teach Your Class Off. There's the cover right there. You can buy it on Amazon. And if you did buy it and you feel like, you're just sitting there one day and you're like, what can I do right now? I got 5 minutes before dinner's ready, or waiting to use the bathroom, and you're like, I should go on Amazon and leave a review for Reynolds. I think that would be a great idea, because then the idea here is not just to sell more books. The idea is to get more positive resources to educators that will empower them, inspire them, motivate them for the school year, and thus help kids, because education's only ever about students. So, or if you want to do like a call with your school, or if you want to do a mentor session, that's all stuff too. But you can just go to our website and find all that stuff, realrapwithreynolds.com.
If you want the book, you can go to teacherclassoff.com.
Yeah, if you want the book, you can now go to teacherclassoff.com, and you can get the book from there. I'm going to keep drinking. This is one of my things I've been doing. I'm real interested in gut health lately, so I'm drinking this kombucha, which pretty much tastes like rat saliva. You ready?
Yeah, but that is disgusting. Why would you say it that? Yeah, look, I guess.
Look, it doesn't make you smile. Plus, I just brushed my teeth, so it's a double whammy.
Okay,
Ready?
How does this work? Like, if this is like this, and you can't really.
So I'm assuming that was first. I thought you didn't do anything wrong. Hit Control Z. There you go. You good?
Yeah, here. I don't know.
All right. So, can I see who this is from?
Yeah, I don't
Here,
know.
all right, so here's what you
I don't know
wanna
how to
do.
use Google Docs.
I got you.
Google Docs.
If you're just signing in and you can hear my laundry, it's almost done. We're going on vacation this week. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But that's what you're hearing. It will be done soon.
I'm gonna stop it.
You're going to stop the laundry?
Yes.
I'm going to have half clean clothes?
It doesn't matter because I can't dry them because apparently our dryer literally just broke.
Oh, so if anyone has a dryer out there that you want to get rid of that works, apparently our dryer just broke. So T-Raw TV is asking, there we go, listen to that.
Silence.
The sounds of silence. T-Raw TV said, I'm starting college this fall, and I want to teach elementary school students. What would you agree that more African American male teachers are? Would you agree that more? Hold on, I'm sorry. The way that this is set up, it's making it hard to read a little bit. Would you agree that more African American male teachers are needed in elementary schools? So I'm going to answer this in two different ways. Short answer, yes. I think that more African American male teachers are needed in general because even my students who are all African American males are like can count on one hand how many like black male educators that they've had in their lives, especially in elementary school. I feel like that you see more folks that are black male educators exist in the high school space than in the elementary space, but I think it is important and I think that's important for two reasons, right? And I'm not completely informed. There's going to be someone out there that's going to give a way better answer than this. But the two things that I see are that one, I think this idea of you see it, you can be it is really important, right? And some people, I've seen people like on Instagram and stuff like that pushing back against this lately. But what that means to me is I think a lot of times our students, no matter who they are, no matter where they come from, grow up in a particular way. And in growing up in that particular way, in that particular community, right? This could be my black male students from West Philadelphia. It could be kids growing up on a reservation in South Dakota. It could be kids growing up in some really affluent district in San Francisco area, wherever. If you just see the same thing all the time, there's nothing, challenging you to see that like, oh, all people could do this job. Like anyone could, like if they are passionate enough, if they want to do this, like we need to have far more eclectic classroom settings. We need to have far more eclectic teachers in our classes. And I think that just benefits students, especially when you didn't, maybe you are a young black man, maybe you are someone that is, I don't know, you're Asian and you're from Boston. And so you see someone that looks like you, or that has the same story as you, or that comes from a similar background as you, doing something that you didn't think about doing before, simply because you just never saw it before. And I think that is, I think that that's just really important. Now, that being said, I just would love to see like a really eclectic teacher bunch in general. And so I'd say our school is, I don't really know what the demographic is at our school. It feels eclectic, but that might just be the people that I choose to hang out with. But I think that it's something special that it's not just all white men or all white women or all anything, right? It is, our school is, we have Asian teachers that are immigrants to the country, Asian teachers that are firstborn or secondborn generation in the country, Hispanic teachers, black teachers either from, anywhere like from Trinidad to like folks that are African American, like it's this eclectic bunch. And I just think that our students are far better served because I think for a couple of reasons. One, they get a feel for what all teachers are like or what all different people are like, and people that come from different backgrounds and different stories. And they get to see their teachers hanging out more eclectic groups and thus not just gravitating towards what we are used to, which is what folks generally do, right? I saw a study years and years and years ago that said actually when you read something, if you're reading a newspaper article, let's say you're reading an editorial and you agree with the writer, you will read slower and follow along. The dog is laying on the light cord and he is going to pull it out. You chilling? You're good, bed. Just, you can lay down. Good boy. But if you read something you don't agree with, you tend to start skipping through to find the part. Oh, there it is. That's where I believe again. And then you read along with that. And I just think that that's really interesting. Don't you?
Yes.
Thanks. Oh man, this stuff is, it's like cold lava.
Well, it's just like
My buddy
bitter.
Scott Ordway is asking, how do you balance doing all the teacher work? How do I balance doing all the teacher work, help my daughter do her kindergarten distance learning work and work at the end of my day? I don't think we can get all the work done that's asked of her. So look, that's a great question, Scott.
That's like every parent teacher
Yep.
question, and I just think it's...
And so here's what it comes down to. For me, I'll say this, for us as a family, this is what it has come down to. It has come down to us being the deciding factor as to whether grades are more important than mental health and family health. And so when we can look at things like that, I think it becomes a different conversation. I won't say I would never. I have in the past made my children do all the work, but especially with my son's learning differences, so our son has primarily, like, the biggest thing that he struggles with is dyslexia. So things have always, and sometimes like an auditory processing disorder or just a processing disorder in general. So like reading word problems messes with his head. Reading time when things have hands, very, very difficult. Left or right, very, very difficult. That kind of stuff. And so we found that, like, the teacher would give 20 minutes of homework, and we'd call other parents. We're like, yo, how long is this homework taking you, man? Like, this shit's forever. And they're like, it took he did it in like 20 minutes. And then we're like, yo, we're sitting here for like 2 hours a night doing homework. And I just decided it's not worth it, because he's just burning out. And then he hates school and he hates everything. And then we're getting into a riff, and you're at the end of your day. So I think for us, I would say, as a family, we've decided that we will be the deciding factor as to what our children need. They were already in school for 8 hours. In our school, how long do they get for lunch? 15, 20 minutes?
Yeah, but I think it's 20 minutes, but that's their playground time included.
20 minutes for lunch. 7 minutes of that is outdoor playtime. The end. There's no more outdoor playtime for our children. That was since first grade, maybe kindergarten. So that's it. It's like, and then you want to come home and do 2 more hours of homework? That's zero of chance that that's happening. We're going to play Minecraft instead and eat hot dogs. Which I don't know what that has to do with homework, but that was our decision.
But I think that's a good decision for everybody, especially going into distance learning, like for teachers that are recording at home and teaching from home,
Yeah.
and then their children are doing distance learning from home. I think that you have to just, everybody's making it up as they go. All the school officials, nobody has done any of this.
Nobody.
This is
No
all
one's
new.
doing the research.
So I just think if it's too much, the parents need to vocalize that, or the teachers, and telling your admin and all this stuff. Since admin they're the ones that are making the rules, but they're not in the classroom and they're not dealing, and this is all new. I would really it's communication is key in saying what's too much and what needs to be the focus.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so I want to talk, maybe we'll get into this later, our own sort of balanced vision of the year, like how we're envisioning balancing the year out this year. But we'll get into that in a little bit. I'm looking for who wrote the question. Brendan is asking, advice for dealing with imposter syndrome. Going into my second year as only a 5th grade teacher, I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. I think I'm thinking about chapter 8 when we talk to you. Think about chapter 8 where you talk about feeling like people are going to figure you out. I absolutely love my school and job. Just feeling a little bit overwhelmed in my head. So, Brendan, I think I would argue, if it's really an argument, I think that my guess is most teachers feel like this. Like, I get to mentor a lot of people. So if you don't know, one of the things that I do is teachers they go on our website and they can sign up for mentoring, right? And so I do hour-long calls with people, and we do everything from like go through their planning for the year, their curriculum, break down questions, talk about classroom management, anything that is like that they are freaking out about. We focus in on and then try and help them to walk into school feeling more confident and being like having a more confident strategy. And so one of the things I see by and large is that folks they feel like, man, I've been doing this for 25, 30 years sometimes, and I don't think I know what the hell I'm doing. That the reason I think that it's difficult to know what you're doing is, one, everyone pretends that their class is on lock. Whether it's the teachers you teach with, whether it's people you see online, there's this false narrative that we often tell ourselves that we are not enough because we're watching other people do it and they do it so much better than we do. And the reason I don't think that works is because if you say, that's a good teacher. I know teachers that are really good because of the grade they teach, because of the school they teach in, because of the people they get to teach with, because of the community that they're a part of. So they're a puzzle piece in a puzzle that they fit in. And sometimes some of us are trying to cram a puzzle piece into a puzzle that does not fit. You can't, if you have a puzzle piece that doesn't fit, you don't get to get out some scissors or an X-Acto knife, start cutting that thing up, trimming it, trying to shove it into that place, right? It's just not gonna work. So it's, and schools change, right? What might have been a really good fit for you for years, things have changed, admin shifted, your friends have retired or left or moved on or whatever. You might be in a new season, right? So that might be a reason that you feel like you don't fit also. So for me, I don't know, I often think like, could I be effective at any school teaching, any age teaching, any grade teaching, any subject? I don't know that I could. I think the me that you get to see now, the me that you get to see on YouTube is effective, is energetic, is the person that he is because it's a good fit. Now, to be fair, I'm really thinking about this year where like most of my friends at my school have left for any different number of reasons. So like Cho is going to Harvard. Yonkers got a new and kind of like really exciting job. My buddy Fines, who's been in the videos, that was my co-teacher, recently left the school. The entire administration team is different, from head of special ed to everything from the principal, the vice principal, the dean. Everything is completely different. So I'm not saying like this year is going to be the worst. I just don't know how this all shakes out, right? Can I continue to be the person that I am at the school that I'm at? I don't know. So I think that is something that everyone is dealing with. But it's, if you're looking at someone else and thinking that's what a good teacher is and I'm not that, that's not always fair to say, because that's like saying that, the Dave Matthews Band is a great band, right? Undoubtedly, even if you are not a Dave Matthews fan, you look at the guys that play in that band, you're like, damn, these guys are they're like really good at what they do, right? Their instruments, it's like one of the greatest drummers of all time. But that doesn't mean that Black Flag or the Sex Pistols weren't a good band. They are wildly different. If you put those two bands on stage together, one of these things is not like the other. But so what I'm saying is like saying what a good teacher is often like saying what good music is. This is good music. Well, like, what about all the Kenny Chesney fans out there? What about the folks that love Lionel Richie? I'm not saying I'm one of those dudes, but suddenly you're in love. I think that's, so just hold on to that. You might feel like an imposter. You might feel different. You might feel like you don't equal what everyone else is because you're not the same thing. You're something different. And I think that's something to be celebrated. I hope that helped. Look at you highlighting.
No, that was Edie.
Oh, was that St. Edie doing it?
She did it first, and then I was like, I can highlight for you. She's already putting
nice.
questions.
And, this is Brendan. Brendan's asking.
No, we did that one.
Oh, snap.
You're on the one below.
Thank you, Brendan, for your question then. And we will move on to the next one, which is Deanna Owens is asking advice on keeping track of online students and in class students, teaching both in 6 classes. So keeping track of online students and in-class students. So Deanna, I think one of the things that really worked for us last year was using Google Classroom. And because all my students knew how to use it. I didn't even know that, because our students in 9th grade at least are not one-to-one. They don't become one-to-one till 10th grade because we get a lot of freshmen in, and then a lot of dudes realize this is not the place for me, and they split because they have to wear uniforms and learn 4 years of Latin, and it's difficult to go to our school sometimes for certain kids, and there's no girls, and everyone acts like if there were girls, they'd have 5 girlfriends at any one time, but that's a whole nother conversation that's laughable. So I found that using Google Classroom was really, really useful. I plan on using it again this year for kids to submit assignments. One of those reasons is because I do not want to touch papers that kids are handing in, because I don't want to be an alarmist, but kids are gross. All right, can we just say this for a moment? Kids are gross. They don't always wash their hands. They do weird stuff. They will, I see adults in the food mart store picking up things and touching products and stuff like that. And then they put on their mask and they're like, and I'm like, do you know about germ transmission? I don't think that they do. So it's so that's something that I'm planning on doing. And then as by and large, I try to be as consistent as possible. This is the day things are assigned. This is the day things are due. These are the days that I will help you with it if you need me to do. I help you with it. And so building in that level of consistency, and if you do late work, like it's can be late, but it's up to this exact moment on this exact date. If it is 1 moment late, bam, guess what? Like the gate is closed. If it's these are lifelong lessons here, kids. So I think that's how I would start is building in that consistency using something like Google Classroom, so I don't have to touch things, and then that's where I'm starting from. So that's not a whole lot to go on. I'm wondering this. So I'm going to throw this out to the group. Anyone in the group, how are you planning on keeping things organized this year, right? With things not being how we normally do this. So for instance, journal entries for my classroom is one of the ways we start almost every day. We usually have books like composition books, and I hand those out to the students. It's the only thing that goes in there. Makes it easier to grade, makes it easier to keep organized. There's a different entry on each page. The next day you put the date and the question and in your answer, so I can just get through it easily. But now I don't want to touch the things that other people are touching. And then they usually all go in a crate and they stay in my room, and now other people are touching other people's stuff, and it's a thing. I'm trying to get away from a thing. So that's somewhat I'm thinking of, but I'm wondering what other people are doing to sort of keep organized.
But I thought the question was more about like how if you were teaching online and so if you're the hybrid model, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep all that organized?
I think Google Classroom. I would only
Same
have
answer.
kids submit things because my guess is most schools, I won't say most schools, because I know that like some friends we've talked to, and I know they're in Texas, so I think it depends on where you are. And other friends that are in Colorado are just going back to school like there's nothing going on. Like COVID's not a real thing. We're not requiring masks. If you wear a mask, I've heard things about teachers saying like other teachers are laughing at them and stuff for wearing masks. So it's like, so it's tricky, but being someone that knows that I don't think this is a political move. I don't think that COVID goes away in November, like after the presidential election. I think it's better to be safe than sorry, and you're also looking out for students. It's not just a me thing. It's me looking out for kids whose parents might not have health insurance. They might not have the ability to go to a doctor. They might not have the money to go to a doctor. So it's like, and in the city, so for those of you that don't know, students that grow up in the city have a far higher rate of asthma just because of all the pollution and stuff in the city. So just trying to look out for your kids. I think that's the move. Chris Chong is asking me, my buddy is asking, hey Reynolds, hypothetically, if a class went crazy and everyone stopped listening to you and were off task, how would you get control again? Chris, let's not take hypothetically. Let's take times that this has actually happened. Hold on, let me drink some of this disgusting rat juice. The worst part's at the bottom, where all the chunks are.
Wait, why is it chunky at the bottom?
It's all the sediment. I think it's all the probiotic crap. Oh, sweet nectar of Orion. That crap is terrible. Oh, gut health, everyone. It's important for us. I feel like my tongue has firecrackers. It's like Pop Rocks just made out with diet soda.
Ew.
So, Chris Chung, if I'm in a class and no one's listening. So, this depends on two different factors. When I started teaching, I did not have the confidence that I have now. So, if the class was out of control and no one was listening to me, first of all, I would go into this panic mode where I'm thinking, I'm going to lose my job. No one's going to listen to me. I don't know what's going to happen. And then it's like I can't think, right? It's like when you are, I don't know, I imagine the same thing happens when you're chased by a bear, where you can't really think clearly. You just want to climb up a tree, but then you remember that bears can climb trees, and so you're pretty much screwed. So I don't know what the hell to tell you to do in the bear situation. But, older, more confident Reynolds, I know that this isn't the end be all end all. The class isn't going to turn into wild pandemonium where things are being thrown across the classroom and stuff like that. Like, it's just not. It's not the problem. Younger Reynolds would sit there and wait, right? Because this was what my cooperating teacher during student teaching did. He would just stand there and wait and stare at kids until they stopped talking. And it worked. It was like freaking magic. He could do it on a stage in front of 500 kids in the auditorium and they'd all get quiet. It was like he was like a magician doing this stuff. I would stand up there and wait. And guess what? No one would listen to me. They would still just keep doing whatever the hell they were doing and say, Reynolds, you gonna talk? What are you doing up there? Just standing there? What do you get paid for? Me now, I do any number of things. But one of the things I've sort of, and this sounds like kids are dogs. And I don't mean to sound like kids are dogs, but just some tactics work, right? I count back from 5 and everyone is silent by the time I get to at least 2, right? And we don't even ever get to 1. On some occasions, if I have riled up the class, like we had a dance party or I put on some music or whatever the insano thing I'm doing, sometimes people are a little bit too riled up and they can't hear. So I will count back from 5 with my hand. 5, because you need the visual. 4, 3, all right. And if I have to do it again, I'm like, this is the last time I'm doing this. I don't know what happens if they don't do it. Get quiet the second time. It's like, what am I going to do? Sort of explode. But it typically works. On the off chance that it is an extremely loud class, that we did something or a movie ended or I showed a scene and it was explosive and everyone's talking about it now, I use the megaphone, man. And I don't yell through the megaphone. I just go, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to need your attention right now. It's your captain speaking. And then it's enough of a weird shift that gets you back around. The one other thing I've seen that, to be honest, the only reason I haven't done it is because she does it and because I think it's so awesome and it's her thing, so I don't do it. But you could go ahead and do it. My friend Megan from Too Cool for Middle School has a wireless doorbell in her room that she just touches it, it dings, it's very delightful, and then the kids all know to start being quiet, and then they are quiet again. So some of it is just going to come with time, it comes with confidence, and it comes from not backing down. That if you say, I need you to stop talking, first of all, why do I need you to stop talking? Just because I want to? Just because I want to say something? Because I want to lecture? Because I want to whatever? It's like, yo, I need everyone to quiet down and I go like this. I need to give you directions for 20 seconds. I need you to quiet for 20 seconds. If you can't be quiet, I need you to hold your breath till the end of 20 seconds and no one will pass out. All right, we'll be cool. All right, ready? Go. And then I give directions. It's not exactly 20 seconds because I'm a long-winded dude. Obviously, you can see this question's been going on for about 3 minutes now. But giving kids, letting them know when you're going to stop talking, letting them know why they're stopping talking. So I'm giving directions. I want to make sure everyone understands this. This is really important before we go off for the fire drill. I want everyone to know what's going on. Please listen to me. That helps also. And then never, ever, 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 ever letting someone go. So the kid in the back that just looks at you like, shut up. Like, I'm going to just stare into your eyes awkwardly until you listen to me. Tim, right here. I need you to be quiet a moment because I need you to understand what's going on. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. I love you and I care about you and I want you to be successful. Because if you're not successful, you're going to be in my class for the rest of your life. You're going to be living in your mom's basement next to the Christmas decoration. So I need you to hone in right now, okay? Okay, thanks, man. And then that is like, then they just go like this. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, please don't ever stare into my eyes again. It's super awkward. Like, it's like when your dog poops. He just stares at you and it's awkward, right? Isn't it weird?
It does. Your tangents crack me up.
Sorry. I didn't know where I was going with that. I'm feeling fiery today.
Keep going.
Okay, Steven is asking, I have a student in a class that is not doing work. I don't want this to become a problem. He puts his head down and doesn't work. He is engaged in the lesson. What should I do? Steven, this is a great question, man. I love this question. Look, Steven, the reason that kid doesn't do work is because something's going on there. And I have a story in my book, Teach Your Class Off, available on Amazon right now, about a student that I had named Joe who did the same thing. And here's the bottom line of this. I think students don't do work for a couple of reasons. And it's either there's something else going on, something at home, something that's happened in the past, something that kid was told, that they have a belief system that means this doesn't matter and I don't matter. And when you can help kids break through that, then you win every single time. Now, here's the problem. You're not always the person. You're not always the one to get that message through to them. But I'm going to talk about what you do if that's the situation. The second thing is they don't realize that what you're doing is important. So if you can't explain why this is important, why algebra is important, history is important, the Civil War is important, civil rights is important, or any other civil thing is important, then if we can't explain why this is important, and it can't be because it's on the test, because this is important, because these people, women's suffrage is important because these women suffered a lot to be able to get the right to vote. And so like now that you don't vote, this is important. Guys, why are you talking? People were getting fed or like going on hunger strikes and then being fed through tubes while they were in prison so that they didn't die. Like this is important. That's not enough. You got to tie it to their life. You got to connect it to their life. And so that's a whole nother thing. But what I'm saying is the basis is, why is this important? Really, like to you in your life, this is important. The second thing is what's really going on there. So let's say this is what I would do. In times of COVID, it's tricky, but I would still do something along the lines of like either eating lunch with that child every day, meeting up with that child every day, even socially distanced. And I call them detentions. And I'm not a real big detention guy, so it's even hilarious for me to say that. But it's basically a detention, right? What it is mandatory hangout time. And when you do mandatory hangout time, what you're doing is you're creating a safe space for that kid to get to know you. And they get to see you more and more often. And when they see people more and more often, they become more familiar with people. And the thing is about being a human being is we gravitate towards that which we are most familiar. And so when we can do that, it starts breaking this cycle down, and then kids will open up to us. Now, look, maybe that kid doesn't. Maybe you're sitting there for 5 days and you're like, oh my God, what the hell is Reynolds talking about? This kid's not saying anything. I've been sitting here for 5 days. You got to call in backup, because teaching is about being part of a community and not being the one. And so find someone that you think would be able to communicate with that kid better. So in school, it was always, for me, it was like Miss Yonkers or my friend Cho or my buddy Meeks or Stu. They might be able to sort of like get their foot in the door. And then when they do, they sort of, what happens is like they can communicate with that student and they show that they get down with me, and then I'm able to communicate with that student as well. And so that is what works. The problem is this isn't always like a quick turnaround. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it works, and after one day, it is game on. Other times it's, it can be a long time before this works. But my bet is that students that don't want to do that, students that are adamantly against communicating with you, telling you what's wrong, anything along those lines, is because there's a deeper trauma there that they have been given up on before. And your job is to not give up on that child. To, as Adam Welcome says, never, ever, 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 ever give up on a child. And so that's what I would suggest. Jacob Ingram is asking, what do you suggest to do with students at the door? I shook hands because I wanted to let them know I see and respect them. I also liked keeping students from rushing into my room acting crazy. Is that the end?
I think so. Oh,
Wife
dang it.
Oh, son of a biscuit, as Brody says.
I think that's it.
All right, so that's we get the gist though. I think that's a really great question.
Can't you hit elbows?
No, you don't want to touch.
Still germ transmission.
Yeah, it's no touching.
Or high fives.
The thing I'm thinking of is like, if I think of something practical, I go down the road of teacheriness and teachers being like teachery about things. If I go down the road of weird, it works better. So, thinking things like, I've done things in the past. I used to have this Bart Simpson thing. I took it from a kid one time because he kept shining it while I was teaching. And it was like Bart Simpson's eyes lit up if you hit like a little button on the back. And so, is she setting up fairies in the house? What happened right there? Okay. Which we'll tell that story in a minute. So I would hold this thing up and push the button on the back and tell kids like, all right, can you come here real quick? All right, you're checked in. Next kid goes. And I would just shine it and make believe this was like Men in Black or something. Okay, look right in Bart's eyes right here. Cool. All right, good. You're checked in. And I told them that it was a retinal scan. And so I think just like something dumb that you could do, but it would be like each kid would come in and you say something to them, I don't know, in a fake different language, or like something silly that you can do that's going to, because what you're doing, right, the whole idea here of shaking hands and saying hello to kids at the door is being able to see them and, like you said, show them respect. And I think that it is letting someone know that thought they were invisible to know that they are visible, and that you see them every day coming in, and that they are not just a fly on the wall. They are not a ghost in the classroom. They are not invisible. They are important and they matter. And I think that can be done with humor as well. So that's something along those lines. Once I get in that situation, I'll have a better answer for that. But I'm sorry I didn't have a better answer now. Logan is asking, how do we remain positive for our students if we are skeptical about going back? Logan, I think because what is the alternative? We don't have there's like, look, I'm skeptical about 100 things this year. We just found out that we have to teach live essentially from 8 a.m. to 3:25 every day, Monday and Tuesday, off on I hate air quotes, but off on Wednesday for meetings and stuff like that. And then Thursday and Friday, we're back on the teaching. That is an insane amount of time to stand in front of a computer and teach live students. I don't think that for the most part, especially for older students, that synchronous learning is useful. I think it should be asynchronous. And I just, if you want proof, it's like, look at any online course that you can take for anything. None of them are synchronous. You have occasionally you have someone that will do like a live thing once a week to answer questions, foster conversation, that kind of thing. But I don't think that it's useful, at least for my students. And that's because I know my students.
Tracy said they have the same schedule.
It's bonkers, and it's just to me, I think it's about fake rigor. It's about we're dialing it up this year. These kids are really going to learn. It's like, dude, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. I think we're all going to be right. Okay, if we do that. I need to plug my phone in.
Well, that's why I gave that to you.
I know, but then I got to unplug the mic. But that'll be all right. I think it'll sound fine. I don't know. What's up, Turtle? Turtle, it does suck, man. So I think there's any number of things that I'm nervous about. The bottom line here is, I think that as educators, we need to start thinking about right now, like whether you start tomorrow or whether you start after Labor Day like we do, it is putting yourself in a mental space that is going to help you to be the best that you can. Look, if we're honest, I hasten to say this at any school that you teach at. Maybe you are the one person that teaches at like you're basically at Hogwarts or the X-Men Academy or something where everything's wonderful. Maybe, right? And I don't mean to diss that. That's freaking awesome, and I wish every single school was like that. But our school always has problems. Every year there's stuff to complain about. Every year there is some new policy, some new procedure, some new admin, some new idea, some new program, some new curriculum, some new lesson, some new way that they want to roll things out and make everything the same. There's always something that is upsetting, that has teachers complaining, that has people getting pissed off. But I don't know who said it originally, but Oprah Winfrey is the person I heard say it, that you are responsible for the energy you bring to a room. So how do I get into that place where I am bringing good energy to a room? Has to be not because of how the school's rolling stuff out, not because of the pandemic, not because of anything. It has to be because I'm focused on students and I'm filling up my gas tank so that I can give something. Because if the car doesn't have gas, nobody's going anywhere, my friend Elise always says. So it's making sure that, what else are you reading? So in the Facebook group the other day, I asked for books that weren't about teaching or business, which is what I'm usually reading stuff about, like business or people's lives or something like that. I just want something easy. I want like a book that you read on the beach. I just want to kick back and read something that's weird and funny and lovely and fills me with hope. I want to watch shows that are doing the same thing. I want to listen to music that does the same thing. I want to make sure that if I have to teach, I'm telling you right now, from 8 to 3:30 every day, 3:30 is the end of my workday. I will do no work after that, right? And I don't know how I'm going to navigate that yet, but I know that that's a long time to be staring at a computer screen, and I am really thinking a lot about how school gets 150% of me. My kids often get 80, 70, 60% of me, and that's not okay. That I need to be able to go full tilt on both fronts. And so that's what I'm looking at this year. And so that's one of the things I'm kind of keeping in mind is like, that it's my responsibility to show up the best that I can, and I need to do what I need to do to cultivate that feeling, which is why I'm eating kimchi, drinking kombucha, and riding bike. I bought a bike, and I've been riding that a lot, which is really fun.
Did you answer that?
Mr. James Pete, nope.
Oh.
Is there, and since we lost this question last week, you know what I mean? Is there anything new you are planning to do to sprinkle magic on your classroom this year? Is there something that has struck you during COVID 2020 year that you're going to do this year? So one of the things, James, I'm thinking about doing is, and look, I don't even know how I'm teaching this year with regards to, like, usually as a literature teacher, we read 5 to 6 novels a year. I don't know if my students have access to that. My school can't tell me yet. I don't know if we're going to have a textbook or an online textbook or some kind of online program. I know how classes are supposed to rock out. I know that they are kind of scripting some of what we're doing, which all of you know I'm pretty not excited about that. But it's like every day is like a 5-minute video in the beginning of class, and there's like a 25-minute activity, and then there's some kind of closing activity, and we're supposed to run things that way. My guess is I will do that until I see that I need to pivot and change for the students' sake. So one of the things I'm really thinking about is, I've talked a lot about this, and I talk about this in my book also, how I get guests to come to my school. I think it would be awesome if I could get a guest a week to come into my class to talk on a Zoom call, right? So this means they could be anywhere in the world. And if they're really in a time change that is not conducive to class, perhaps I could record this on the front end and then just show it to my students. And then they could follow up with questions later. But giving students a one-on-one interaction where if we're reading a book, I don't know, if we're reading Lord of the Flies, right? If I can go on, like, what if you're reading Lord of the Flies and you talk to Bear Grylls, right? Like, let's say you could get that dude to Skype in for 20 minutes to your class, which I think could really happen, or any other, like, you know, survivalist kind of person. What if you're reading Fahrenheit 451 and you got someone that, like, knew Ray Bradbury, or you got someone that is in the technology where they work for Google or Apple or something like that to come and talk to your students about technology and some of the things that are in the book. And, like, so what you're doing is tying these things into what you're teaching, but you are finding the right messenger for the message. And that's something that has me excited this year, and I'm already DMing people. And so if you want to do this, I think the move is to DM people. This is not a Reynolds original, this is a Gary Vee idea, but DMing people is like the back door into most people, that if you email them or call them, it's just going to get lost in the sauce. But DMing, most celebrities, and I've heard numerous people talk about this, most celebrities don't answer their own email. I don't even answer my own email. And I'm like, not a celebrity, but like, but I just have too many emails to do. So, you know, my buddy Edie does it. But I do all of my own social media, and I've heard that about tons of people, that they say, like, yeah, that's the way to get in. So that's what I'm thinking about. Liz is at, Liz, I'm gonna say your last name because you spelled it out for me. Liz.
No, Edie did that. Come on.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
Oh, Edie is wonderful.
No diss to Liz.
No, not at all. Palovchik. Edie, I think I said it right. But Liz is asking ideas on how to take attendance on virtual meetings. I only have 40 minutes, so I don't want to waste any time. That's a great question. Does anyone else have an answer for this? Because what I'm thinking is, if you watch my videos about how I take attendance, I look for bodies and seats. And the problem with Zoom, if you're using Zoom, is everyone's in a different order, and they're not even, like, on different screens. So, like, if someone on, you know, if I'm having a Zoom call with someone, it's not even everyone's in the same order, which is so weird. So Kari Martinez, I apologize if I'm saying your name wrong, said that there's a Google extension for that to be able to do it. But I just wonder if there's a way to do that, because I don't know yet, but I think that that's a great question. And I see a bunch of stuff popping up now. So there's your answer.
Creating a Google form with a question. If you're Zooming, just do roll out loud.
Okay.
Someone said a screen capture too.
Screen capture is a good idea. That's what I did when we did, like, our club last year.
Yeah.
That was live. This is
MS
glamour.
Forms or Google Forms for attendance register.
Oh, look at that party. All right, you got another question for me?
Well, yeah, Edie has them all lined up.
All right, cool.
Don't read that part.
H. Sadat is asking, who's my buddy? That guy's been on Instagram a lot.
I know.
I have to give a demo in one of my classes. Do you recommend
Do you recommend
show my original class or make it the best even though I've tried it in other classes? Watch, move that already. Okay, clarification later. Hey Reynolds, I have to give a 15-minute demo. Do you recommend them my original classes or some editing and lesson planning the best way possible even though all right, so let me say this. I think the demo class should be your you actually teaching, like be live doing it, because it's going to give them a sense of like who you really are, and we can hide things behind editing. We can hide things behind like setting something up and looking like I've tried to do that. Like even if I've recorded a class, and sometimes people don't believe that's true. Like they'll see like clips of me and my students and they're like, that was set up, that wasn't real. And I'm like, dude, that was 100% real. Like I don't have time to freaking stage things all the time. But pictures that I've staged for the website or something like that, it's all still my real students. But it's hard to come off as authentic when you're doing that. So I would do something live. And I think that's answering your question. If it's not, please clarify, but I think I'm getting to the answer of that. Who's that question from?
I don't know, you fix it.
Gotcha, dude. Got it, man. A follower's flight is asking, what's your opinion on teachers who discipline the whole class because 2 or 3 kids were doing something wrong? Some say that the group needs pressure to exist. Do you... Snap. Do you know who... Why is this giving me problems here? I don't know what's going on. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I want to read your whole question, but... do you agree if they don't know who did it? No. Listen, this is a terrible... Punishing everyone because one person did... That's like... In the world, in the real world, this never ever happens, right? It's just not... It's not a thing. And the reason for that is because it's silly. Because if we have to move our cars on our street every Tuesday, if you don't, you get a parking ticket. If my neighbor Gary doesn't move his car on Tuesday and I get a ticket for it, I'm gonna be pissed, right? But that doesn't happen in the real world, right? So I think what has to happen is what you want the other students who aren't doing it. So what typically happens is 2 or 3 kids are doing something. I think address those kids, address them in private, figure out and say things like this. What's going on? Did I do something that upset you? Did I do something that is making you act out, right? No? Or yes? Okay, let's talk about that because maybe I did something that pissed you off. Let's have that conversation. If I didn't do something that pissed you off and you're just acting out of pocket anyway, do you see why this is problematic, right? I'm trying to have the best class in your whole life and it's getting messed up because you guys are doing this. I'm not going to let you do that, and here's why. Because 1, I want you to be successful, but if you don't want to be in my class, if you don't want to do the work, if you don't want to be successful, that's on you. I can only lead the horse to water. I can't make it drink, but I can try and make it really thirsty. So I can try and have classes that are the greatest classes ever, hopefully enticing kids to want to participate. The other thing is you be doing what you're doing, acting out of pocket, creating this kind of madness in there, is stopping other people from finding success. And that I won't let happen because some kids are screwing around with you. Some kids are laughing. Some kids are goading you on. Some kids are applauding or doing whatever when you do it. But other kids just want to learn and you're screwing that up. I'm not going to let you get in the way of that. So here's what's going to happen. If you want to do work, come to my class. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you to do. Like tell your mom that this isn't a class for you and you don't want to take my class anymore, whatever. The other thing, the other conversation there is talking to the other students. So sometimes I will ask those 1, 2, 3 students to step in the hallway for a moment. You're not in trouble, but I need you to step out because I need to speak to the class. And then I will, so maybe I'll go out and talk to those kids first. And I'll say, I need you to wait here for a moment and think about things. I'm going to call you back in about 30 to 60 seconds. Always putting a time on things. go back into the class and let the rest of the class know, listen, this is the problem that we have. Is that although we know that these dudes are primarily the issue, right? They are the ones doing the things, making the fart noise, making the phone sound, making the flashlight go off, making jokes, doing whatever they do to get a rise. A comedian's only funny if he makes people laugh. So by you carrying on, everyone looks at the teacher like it's your problem, but if you guys are carrying on with them, right, then that's where we have a problem. So I want you to see that we're trying to make class the greatest class ever, but that can't happen unless we're flowing with one another. If we are at odds with one another, then it's never going to work. And so it's about what, and that conversation goes on longer and it changes depending on the class. But that sort of conversation is what I think students need, because they are actually being talked to. It's the difference between if your child is getting a cookie out of the cookie jar and they shouldn't because they're 2, and you yelling from the couch and saying, I'm not telling you, get out of the cookie, put that cookie down. Or you getting up and saying, listen, can't be in the cookie jar. I'm going to break it down for you. Why? Because cookies are sugar. And then having the conversation with your kid, it just always goes better. And they feel like trusted individuals.
I also said, what if you don't know who did it, though? Like, there's a wrapper on the floor and you don't know who put it there, kind of thing.
Like, you just don't make a big deal out of it. I think if there's a wrapper on the floor, you go, can somebody pick this wrapper up because someone was being a slob? Can you fix that for me, please? And then if you can get community culture, because sometimes we think kids are doing something bad, but they're just being kids. And what I mean by that doesn't give an excuse, it gives a reason, right? Because sometimes kids, they're impulsive. They don't think. They didn't know they dropped something. They are when they go, sorry, my bad, sorry. Like if a kid curses in my class, and let's say I have a rule that there's no cursing in my class. Someone drops the F-bomb, and if that's the rule is, you say the F-bomb in our class, I'm getting kicked out, I'm writing you up, I'm calling your mom. But if someone goes, my bad, I apologize, it just came out. It's like, all right, check. Just don't do it again. Cool? All right, word. And then you just move on. It's like we decide if we need to make a big deal out of something. And because sometimes we think kids are doing stuff that they aren't even really doing. And so it's trying to figure that out. And then I think erring on the side of caution and giving grace where grace is needed. What do you got there, buddy?
Look, it puts it up there when you highlight it.
Oh, splendid. The only problem is we can't see up there.
Oh, I can.
Oh, we can now. Look at that, girl. I'm about to teach you how it's done.
I don't know how to use Google anything besides the search engine.
What's the beginning of the question, though?
That's it. Oh, you just...
Yeah, but who is it?
Well, it's over there. You just moved it.
Oh. It's not.
Oh, you did something.
Yeah, because you highlighted it. I'll show you. We'll dial this in. This is a really great idea,
Okay.
but we got to figure it out. Kay Craddock is asking, like I said before, if I'm moving from teaching at a university to the high school, at the university, they have Gay Straight Alliance. I asked my high school if that was, and it was discouraged. Is this the norm in high school? I don't know for everyone. That's really disconcerting, because I think that no matter, look, it's one of those things, man. It's one of these things, right? That like, if you believe that being gay is wrong, if it's not biblical, if it is a sin, right? If you think that, I don't know, Black Lives Matter isn't important, if you think all lives matter, if you are pro-military, if you are not pro-military, if you're a pacifist, it is, whether your kids are into something seemingly innocuous, like we are the hunters, we like hunting, and then other kids are like, no, we like vegan food and whatever. I think the bottom line here is giving kids a safe space to explore who they are. When we don't do that, we are telling someone you need to figure it out by yourself, and then we're crushing that thing that is them. And it doesn't matter, and I, as a person that's religious, it doesn't matter what your moral beliefs are on any number of things. Now, look, we're not saying there's the cat killer club, right? Like, you can weigh these things out. If some kid likes going out and killing cats after school and they're like, we're thinking about starting a club after school, Tim, I don't know that the cat killer club is an actual good idea. But if some students come in and they are in the LGBTQ community and they are looking for a safe place to talk about what it's like to be a part of that community, some of the struggles that they're dealing with, talking about like their friends or the community coming after them or dogging them, anything around that, right? You are just caring for kids. School's only about kids. It's not about you. It's not about your beliefs and crap. It's about students and helping them to navigate the world. And if we can't do that for kids, then what the hell are we doing in school anyway? So I think, now look, I have my own beliefs, my own moral compass, but for me, it is always about creating a safe space for students. It's always about letting all students know that they are heard. Now look, sometimes that is stuff that, like, I might have kids that think that Black Lives Matter. Let's say I'm in a school and kids don't think Black Lives Matter is important. They think it's a political thing. They think all lives matter, whatever it is, right? What I want to do is create a space to say, and this is legitimate. That's really interesting that you think like that. How'd you come to that conclusion? And then what you're doing is helping kids talk out who they are and how they feel and what's going on without attaching your agenda to it. But when we give kids a safe space, what we're doing is showing them. We're not just telling them that anything that's mentionable is manageable. Meaning that if you have anger, if you're pissed off about something, if you're frustrated about something, whether it's something going on inside of you, something that's happening to you outside of your life, but when we're giving kids that safe space, we're helping them to have, that's the thing to do in mental health, that we are creating spaces where kids can feel loved and cared for no matter who they are, no matter what they're about, no matter what's going on. And so, I just think that's, I could go on and on and on about that, but that's the sort of short and long of it. B Piper. So let me say this. If that's discouraged, I say do it anyway, but you just don't have to call it a club. It's just like, no, I meet with these students. It's like, do they all happen to be Black and we have this meeting? Do they all happen to be male and we have this meeting, or female and we have this meeting, or they are all LGBTQ folks? Like whatever your packaging is, just take the packaging off of it and be like, no, I just eat lunch with these kids, and it just happens that they're all gay and we have lunch together.
Someone said that if it comes suggested from a student, often admin will accept it a bit more.
Yeah. So I think that's a really great idea. B Piper is asking, what are your tips on managing papers and assignments flow this year with the hybrid model? 2 days face-to-face, a week virtual 3. We are currently not 1-to-1. Oh.
How are you doing virtual?
No, I teach math, so we always have to use guided notes for ease of writing word problems and equations. So I think that's a great question. You're not 1-to-1.
So what happens when you're virtually?
Yeah, how are students going to do that when they're virtual? This is a question that I need to know more. That's a really well said question. I need more information, so I'm going to say this. Is someone on here a math teacher, and are you at all in the same situation as, so that question comes from B Piper, that you could give information back? Because I think this is a really, really important question. This is something that will leave you going back in the beginning of the school year and feeling like wild anxiety because you're just not sure how to navigate this and how to do this. And my guess is that, Piper, your school doesn't have an answer for this yet. So I'm wondering if anyone on here can reach out and you all can communicate, because I don't have a really good answer for that at the moment. Which I hate. I hate not having an answer for stuff, because I feel like if you've waited for your question. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you where to put that question also. If you go to the Facebook group, Real Rap with Reynolds Teacher Talk in the Facebook group. Are you going to drop that in the chat?
Yeah.
All right. So my wife's going to drop it in the chat now. The question was, someone said, please repeat the question. What are your tips for managing paper assignments and flow this year with the hybrid model? 2 days on, 3 days virtual. We are currently not one-to-one. Note, I teach math, so we always have to use guided notes for ease of writing word problems and equations. So if you are in that particular situation, how are you navigating like all that stuff? That's what I'm wondering about.
Oh, you need the question.
That's fine. Manel is asking, should teachers resort to using what's that, bro? Oh, word. Should teachers resort to using L1 when correcting learners' errors? If this should remain occasional, if this should remain occasional, when should they use it then? How can teachers preserve learners' motivation to learn? So, I don't know what L1 is. Can someone tell me what L1 is? I feel like that's a term that I should know, but teachers are using L1 when correcting. Hold on. This one's taking me a second to process.
Oh, native language. Someone said L1 is native language.
Oh, okay.
So do you think they're native language?
So I feel like this is like two questions. So I think, look, I think when teaching students that don't that English, so if you're teaching in America and English isn't their first language, I think student dignity is the number one thing that you want to look out for. So it is communicating with students in such a way that they are going to feel cared for and seen and respected. And when we don't do that, that's like the equivalent of like when I used to work at Home Depot. Folks would come in and they spoke primarily Spanish, or for whatever reason, people would think I spoke Spanish, which I'm just like the color of Vaseline sometimes. So that was amusing to me. But I had coworkers that someone would speak, let's say Spanish, to them, and then they would do this thing. What's that, sir? Sir, what do you mean? Okay, you need a tape measure, as if speaking like that was going to help anybody learn anything. It was just like, it was mind-blowing all the time. And I used to actually like to counterbalance that or to counteract that, I would tell my coworkers, I'm like, wow, I didn't know that's how you speak Spanish. You just talk louder and slower, and then that means you can speak someone's language. And it was so ridiculous that it made people go like, all right, I get it, that is stupid. But it's about helping folks to have dignity. So like if you need to communicate with a student and you don't speak their language, then finding someone that does. And then trusting that over time, kids are just going to naturally learn English, right? They're going to learn the native language of wherever they are because it's out of necessity, because they can't, because riding the bus, it might not happen that way. Because going to the store, it might not happen that way. Because if you're hanging out with friends and you're watching TV and movies and video games and kids are talking on headphones and you want to know where the hell everyone's going on Fortnite, you got to learn English to be able to do it, right? So I think that will come. So I think that's what I would do. So if you have to correct someone or do anything, I think that's the move. What I would do when I taught in Camden, New Jersey, where I don't really remember the percentage, but let's say it was basically 50-50 of like I had black students and then a large majority of Spanish-speaking students that were, I realize those aren't mutually exclusive, but so we'll say African-American students and Spanish-speaking students, but the kids I would have that were Spanish-speaking would often come to my room several times a week after school as a collective, and they would just get one-on-one tutoring from me or like 5-on-1 tutoring from me, and they would like show up, they'd bring snacks, they'd do they'd like play music that they really liked, and so like it was like this little kind of party at the end of the day, and then we would go over that stuff. So if they didn't feel safe, like not knowing how to answer a question, feeling silly because they're teenagers, and there's any number of reasons to feel silly, but like if they felt uncomfortable in the classroom, they could show up after school and we would have kind of this thing, and it was always a really special experience. How do we keep students' motivation during the year? I think we have to meet those needs as we see them, because it's going to come out in any different number of ways. So one of the things I think is you being the best that you can be every single day is going to help, right? People want to show up to that energy. The second thing is, how can you keep making it fun? How can you know when there's a day that we don't need to do work? We need to just check ourselves, and we're going to have a conversation about what's going on and how you're feeling and thinking right now. Doing it virtually, I'm trying to figure this out, but like in school, it was like having cereal day, having days where we just talked about stuff, having like a movie day. We did like a really like tedious lesson and we had 2 days left before the next before the weekend, and then it was like the new unit was going to start. It was like, let's just watch a movie and we'll like connect it to what we were doing. So we're not just watching a movie to watch it, but we're breaking it down and we're looking at plot development, we're looking at imagery, we're looking at characterization, we're looking at stuff like that, subplot. But how do we create that fun and engagement this year? I think for me, it's going to be a lot of weird. It's a lot of like me, you know, using my monkey arm because sometimes school gets boring. Sometimes it's maybe teaching like this hand was real and I didn't know. I didn't. What do you mean? You guys, no one has monkey arm here? I thought, you know, some people did. So it's like all the crap that I have in my little suitcase up here, which is all my weird stuff, and what you're trying to do here. I think student motivation is largely based on sprinkling magic. It's not recreating the whole thing, but how can you make something a little bit better? How do you put a little bit of hot sauce on something, makes it taste a whole lot better, right? You take plain eggs, you put some sriracha on those things, bam, it's game on, right? You take ice cream, you don't have to cover it in chocolate. You can if you want to, but you can just, Marley does. She did last night when we went out. We had ice cream for dinner last night at the Reynolds house. But you can just sprinkle sprinkles on there, and just that little bit just gives it that kick that changes everything. Anna Ballerina, my buddy, is asking, do you have any advice on when parents are not letting you choose your path in life? As a high school senior, I'm struggling to get them to see what I want to do in my life. It's a great question.
You're doing a lot of clappy
I'm
claps
feeling
today.
clappy today. I think, gosh, this is interesting because I never did anything that I never did anything that was normal. I just like have always been left of center. And so I think when your parents start seeing that, my parents would just go, what the hell are we gonna do? I mean, the guy wants to play drums for a living, or he's in his room, he's making balloon animals. I don't know what the hell is happening here. Like, I don't know why he paints his car, because I used to paint my car to make it look cool. And so, because I had a big old 1987 Chevy van, and I took all the seats out of the inside, and I put shag carpeting in, and I installed a disco ball and really good speakers, and I had a bed in there at one point, I had a working kitchen, I had a drum set in there at one point, I had a couch in there at one point, because that's just what I did, and my parents just stopped caring. I think the thing is, when I talk to students, let me say this, when I talk to students, right, so I went to high school graduation the other day, secretly, and I was talking to kids, and I was saying, like, what do you want to do? And when kids go, yeah, I think I'm just going to be a truck driver, or I think I'm going to get a job in a bank. My cousin works in a bank, and he makes a lot of money, so I think I'm going to do that. It's having the plan, it's having the why behind what you want to do. Because what parents, I think, as a parent, you get concerned about is that your child is not really thinking about this, that they are going to get themselves in a precarious situation and have a lot of student debt because they wanted to be, I don't know, a drummer. Like I wanted to go to college for drumming, and now I realize that the ROI for that is not really there because I'm not going to make enough money as a drummer to pay back my student loans, right? Unless I got a scholarship. So I think most parents just want their kids to be safe. And if they're going to take risks, they're going to take calculated risks because they want you to be okay. And I think that a lot of times it comes from a place of love. Now, look, it might come from a place of like a status thing, like, what's your kid going to school for? My kid's going to school for African dance, and that's something we're paying for right now. So what's your kid in school for? Oh, he's going to be an accountant. That sounds like there are accounting jobs out there. I don't know how many African dance gigs there are out there. So it's like and so I think that's what it comes down to. So it's about making your case. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do it? And then planning it ahead. I think also though, as a young person, just go try stuff. Just go try all of it. Like if my 20s were wild and free and fantastic. And if I had it to do over, I'd have done more. I would have slept less. I would have slept 3 hours a night, and I just would have went. I would have looked like a Jack Kerouac novel, man. It would have been like on the road on steroids. And so it's so that's what I'm thinking. It's like coming up with a plan, but then also knowing that can you do both? Can you go to school for what your parents are kind of thinking of, and then find yourself while you're out there? So that's the best piece of advice I have now. But learning how to have those conversations with your parents is going to be really important too. So like learning how to have difficult conversations is really important, and part of that is listening to them. Really, really listening to everything they have to say without thinking about what you want to say next. And then when it's your turn, you can say to them this. So what I'm hearing from you is you want this, 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 and this for me. And then seeing if that makes sense. Because sometimes we get in arguments with people, we don't see eye to eye because we're not fully listening to them. And so it takes time to really learn that skill, but you're then teaching your parents how to communicate with you as well. So that's my answer. What do we got? AB is asking, Mr. Reynolds, I think I remember you saying something about being religious. Do you rely on your faith to help you power through the hard parts of teaching? That's a great question. I am religious. I am Christian. I've been Christian since I don't know. I wasn't the guy that like remembered the day. I don't know. That's a whole other interesting introspective thing for me. But since like 1998, and what that does for me is it directs my life in such a way that I don't make decisions without being prayerful about it, without really thinking about it and thinking about, is this what I'm supposed to do next? So in those moments, I think that, yes, so when I'm having really difficult moments, I do pray more. But look, even if you're not religious, I think that's a great move. Being quiet is a great space to, like, so what happens is in school, if things aren't going well, we tend to work more. We try to do more to get ourselves out of it, and then that doesn't work. But Blaise Pascal, famous scientist, once said something to the effect of like, all men's troubles come from his inability to sit quietly in a room alone. And so to find quiet, to find peace, that is something that comes out of my religious beliefs. So I try, I don't do as much anymore, but this year we're trying to hone back in on this. I used to do 4 retreats a year where maybe that was a day, maybe that was an overnight thing, like in a cabin somewhere, where I just had quiet to think and to reflect on things. And so, yes, so the short answer is yes, but the long answer is even if you're not religious, I think that quiet really helps you gain clarity. And that's something else I talk about in the book and how Leonardo da Vinci thought about that and stuff. And so, yeah. Michael Orlando is asking, hold on. CJ, what are your thoughts on a classroom library? Dude, I think classroom libraries are awesome. I think every single classroom should have them, no matter if you're a math teacher, a reading teacher, a science teacher. And I think it could be a mixture of 2 things. Books that you really love, because it's easier to sell a book that you read and that you love. And, there's certain books that I have that I really love that I've told multiple kids about. And then I think students should be picking a lot of the books that are in teachers' classrooms. I'd say about 80 to 90, probably 90% of the books that I have in my classroom were picked by kids. Because if you want a kid to read, get them a book they want to read. Don't just keep telling them, no, this book's really great. You're going to love Jack Kerouac. You're going to love, I'm trying to think of, now I'm blanking, of course, but like, you're going to love John Grisham, whatever it is. You don't know that. Let them find something, because if you find something you want and then the teacher orders it, like, game on, man. That's amazing. And if you can't afford that, if your school doesn't allow that, do a donor's choose and like get money for your classroom library. I think because the other thing you want to have is, if you think about it, the music we listen to, the books that we read, the movies we watch, a lot of times there's something in that in those characters, especially fiction, that you see in yourself. So like there's this great line from the song Bittersweet Symphony by The Verve that says, I want to listen to sounds that recognize the pain in me. And that is so true. Like for me as a music lover, is that when I'm in certain situations, when I'm feeling great, when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling depressed, when I'm feeling lonely, when I'm feeling out of sorts, when I'm feeling silly, there's certain music that I listen to that is going to mimic that. Or if I'm feeling a certain way, I'm down here and I want to get up here, there's certain songs that I'll listen to that will bring me up. That just by the sound of that guitar, the drum beat in the beginning, the drum fill in the middle, whatever it is, is it always works as sort of like this medicine for my soul. And so I think that, you know, kids need to see that in books too. They need to be able to see themselves in books. And so, yeah. So, and I think that's every kid needs that, because they need to know that they're not alone in the world and somebody else has already lived through this, because books are magical. They are time machines. They are a way to read other people's minds. They are, it's magic. Reading is magic. It is blobs of ink on a piece of paper that we all agreed meant something, and then you read them in a line, and it makes you cry, it makes you laugh, it makes you get excited, it makes your heart race, and it's magic.
Someone said we are teachers offer several ways to start a class library if you're looking to start one.
Oh, all right, do it.
Thanks.
Or I have to say, besides Zoner's Choose too, who's the other group we work with? That's all right, dude.
Okay. What are the
Help a Teacher. Help a Teacher is great too. And the one thing I like about Help a Teacher, Donors Choose often, if you get your thing answered, I'm not affiliated, like I've done interviews with them and stuff like that, but I'm not paid by them. Donors Choose, you often have to leave your stuff in your classroom, so that's problematic. So if you change classrooms, if you change schools, if you change districts, you can't take your stuff with you. Help a Teacher, the stuff belongs to the teacher, and the teacher can take those belongings to wherever school, whatever classroom, whatever student body they want to have help them with. Sharon Hoffman is asking, sorry, no, I don't know why I read it like that. Our teachers are assigned digital students, and hey love, can I have a glass of water when you have a second, please? I just wanted to ask that, even though I was in the middle of Sharon Hoffman's question. Oh, popcorn?
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
you're welcome. What's up, guys? We're gonna go to the Poconos for 2 days.
We are going.
So if you guys want to come and rob our house, you can go do that. You can steal my Xbox. I really don't care. My dad can just. I'm gonna get the new Xbox and.
Get the heck out of here. Go upstairs.
Tracy Pinter said hi, by the way, but.
Oh hi. Yeah.
All right, get out of here. Don't rob my house. Romina's staying here anyway. Sharon Hoffman is asking, our teachers are assigned digital students and class students. How do you present content, etc., to both without working yourself to death? So my trick is always, when I used to teach freshmen and seniors, one, I made sure that they were doing basically the same thing every day. So if we were reading, let's say, freshmen were reading Merchant of Venice, seniors were reading Macbeth. If we were reading in class that day, so I try to set up my class the same way. We're doing journals for 10 minutes. Sometimes that could be the same question because I could get away with it. Sometimes it was a different question. Next, we're gonna do like an out of seat activity. When everyone's up and they're moving around. How can I mimic that in both classes? How can I have the assignment mimic one another in both classes so that you're doing the same kind of thing every day with both classes? I think with doing things the way you're doing it, could you, if you're doing in class, so one of the things I'm wondering about, Sharon, is could you flip your classroom, right? So in flipped classes, you are essentially, the kids are watching the lecture at night, they're coming in to do the activity. So what they're showing up, the in-person children are showing up in your class to do, is that they're showing up to do an in-class activity based on last night's reading, the lesson, the video that you made or whatever. And it could be the same video or the same thing that you made for the students that you're teaching synchronously, or doing the same thing as the asynchronous students. That's the first thing that comes to mind. You know, this is a tough question because it depends on what you're teaching and how you're teaching it.
Okay, good.
We're making a lot of popcorn right now in our house because this is our kids are they're in a popcorn phase, and we get this stuff. It's called what?
Skinny pop.
Skinny pop, and which is weird because they're the same size as all the other popcorns in the
I
world.
don't think it has anything to do with that.
They're not skinnier.
Okay, keep
You know
going.
what I mean? So that's my best answer. I'm wondering if anyone else has an answer for that. Like, what are you all planning on doing if you are? And look, here's a great idea. I think if you're watching this, I think that you should be watching this with a friend if possible, right? Because it will give you someone to talk with stuff about and someone to bounce stuff around. So invite your friends. Two, if you see someone like that question that just came through by Sharon Hoffman, reaching out to Sharon and saying, hey Sharon, here's my email, or can we talk after this, or I have a great idea that might help you. It is then, not just in the comments, but it's taking it a step beyond, and you might find someone, and I know that I've done this online, where I find someone that like, I'll just hit up and say like, yo, I'm teaching this, like, how do you think I should introduce this? What do you think I should do about this? Here's a problem I'm having in class. And you start finding these individuals that are like your kind of teacher, and then it helps. So that I think that's a good move. But so I'm wondering if anyone has an answer to that. So Sharon's question one more time is, our teachers are assigned digital students and in-class students. How do you present content to both without working yourself to death? So how are you going to have those? Because it's way different way of teaching. So I'm just wondering if anyone has a question or an answer for that that's a little bit fuller and fleshed out than mine. Earl Slander is asking, any advice on how to connect with boys in middle school? I'd like to be a better resource for these boys, many of whom seem lost, apathetic, and frustrated. I think that, Earl, the way to do that is to enter the world of your students. I made a post on Instagram the other day about this, where I said like, I was just naming things that I know my students are into right now. So right now, Fortnite's still the thing, Call of Duty, Odd Ones Out, Laser Beam on YouTube. The fact that Fortnite just had cars come out, this is a huge thing right now. It's all my son's friends are talking about. That's a lot. Or, a little bit more controversial maybe, is the new, I know if I was in school, all my students would be talking about the new Cardi B video that came out, which you can watch if you want. I wouldn't watch it with your kids. But it's going to be controversial. I think they did it for that reason. It has a lot of people talking, and I know that would come up. And so what I want to do is stay current, not to be cool, but to be relevant, right? So some people get hung up on this because they think I'm 58 years old. Like, what the hell am I watching Cardi B videos for? Because that's what your student's interest is. And so if you want to, it makes as much sense as this. And this is a little bit Gary Vee-ish too, but like, if you put your money in billboards, right, and you don't get the return on investment that you thought, it's because no one's looking at billboards. No one's staring out the window. They're looking on their phone. So put an ad on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, on something on TikTok, because that's where the focus is. If you want to get your students' attention, find things that they're interested in, and then figure out a way to work them into your class. And I don't think it has to be really, really difficult, but you could have word problems based on video games. You could have writing problems based on TV shows that the kids all like, or a cartoon that they all grew up with, and that could be Paw Patrol, it could be YouTubers, it could be, Cardi B or whatever new single comes out next as everybody talking about it. But what that requires you to do is keep learning, because pop culture is always, always moving. It never stays still. So that's what I would try and do. And then what you're going to find is when you are willing to enter the world of your students, you will find that they feel far more comfortable coming to you with things that they need. David Ginsburg is asking, hold on, let me pull this up to the top here. I have been a substitute in high school for the past 2 years, where I have become comfortable. Thanks to COVID, I need to apply to new school districts, and this causes me anxiety. Any advice? Look, I think, David, that one, I think anxiety and excitement feel very much the same thing. So it's worth asking yourself, are you really anxious, or are you kind of excited also? And if you're not, it's about sometimes tricking yourself that you are excited and not anxious. I think the other thing is that anxiety all these feelings that we have it's not all just some kind of mystical thing. So like if you're depressed, right? Some things that are worth considering are, am I getting enough sleep? Am I well enough hydrated? So like figuring out like how much water do I need to be drinking every night? What's the quality of my sleep? Is my room dark or is it light? So in our room, I have blackout curtains, and every single light that's in my room has a tiny piece of electrical tape on it or has been covered up by something. So when we turn the lights off at night, it is like hands in front of your face, black in my room. You can't see anything. Are you getting enough exercise? Are you hanging out with friends? Are you counterbalancing this COVID lifestyle with fun stuff on some level? And when you're doing that, I think we find that the anxiety dissipates. I think we find that depression sometimes can dissipate. Now look, sometimes, and I don't think this is your case because it doesn't sound like this is your problem normally, is that when you're doing all those things and you're still depressed, maybe it's time to talk to a doctor now because maybe there's some sort of chemical imbalance. But I think largely a lot of the stuff can be dealt with, even anxiety, by dialing in our health needs. The other piece is I look, this is my own thing, but I do like affirmations where my head immediately, like today I was riding my bike and I saw a car that wasn't even going to pull out. They were like waiting for me to go down the road and then they were going to go. But I instantly started thinking like, what if that lady hit me? And then what if I got left on the side of the road? And what if I couldn't get to my phone? And what if I couldn't call my wife and tell her that I was hurt on the side of the road? And what if that meant that something happened to me? And what if that meant my family wasn't provided for? Like, this is where my head goes. Like, this is like, I'm not even, it didn't even almost happen. It was just me like, and then what if this happens? And what if this happens? And what if this happens? So what I do is these affirmations in the morning where and this is new for me. I used to do it, but now I'm back to doing it. Talking about, I am successful. I am wealthy. I am good enough. And so you're saying these things to yourself. And here's why. Your mind does not know, and you can look at the science behind this. Your mind doesn't know if what you're saying or what you're dreaming and thinking about is real or not. Which is why when you have dreams, even though that stuff's not real, unless we are magically whisked away to some kind of dream world that exists, in our unconscious, you can still wake up and still like your heart's beating. Or the other night when I had a dream that somebody was cheating on me, right? I wake up and I'm like a little bit annoyed at my wife. And I came downstairs and she's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just had this dream about like cheated on me." I was like really surreal and real. It didn't happen. My wife didn't cheat on me. And so, at least not during COVID, we can't go anywhere. So the idea here is that you are filling yourself up with that goodness. You're saying these things to yourself. And I'm going to tell you right now, it seems ridiculous. It seems like the weirdest crap in the world. I used to do it in front of a mirror, which is even weirder, to look yourself in the eye, tell yourself that you're awesome, that I love you, that whatever. But your mind doesn't know that what you're thinking or what you're saying is real or not. And so it just starts going along with it. And then I think that has had a tremendous effect for me. Kathy Toner is asking, do you have any recommendations for working? I'm going to try and answer a next chunk of these as quickly as possible so I can just kind of get to more questions. Yeah, still thoroughly, but without all of my jibber jabber.
Well, we're at 2:30, so.
What do you mean? 2 hours?
No, 2:30. It's
2:30 p.m.?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for working on literacy skills in higher grades, accommodating students with reading levels ranging from 2 grades behind to 2 grades ahead? No resource teachers to help. I'm also the only English teacher. Yes. I think getting books that kids want to read. So first of all, there's a couple of things here. My real quick advice for this is getting books that kids want to read and having them pick them out. So if you have someone that is a lower level reader, right? They're several grade levels behind. That's probably for a reason. And so if you can figure out what that reason is, or if you can start sort of trying to figure that out. So sometimes for students like that, I'll allow them to read comic books in class or graphic novels in class. I'll allow them to get books that you can look at. Oftentimes Amazon will have the Lexile level of a book, and seeing that like it's a book that's appropriate for them, but nobody else knows. No one in the class knows. It doesn't say like kids book or low level reader on the front. So I get those books for those kids. Sometimes other kids will complain that they don't get to read comic books also. So sometimes I do let them read comic books, or sometimes I tell them that fare isn't equal. And so I see where you are, and I know that you need to work on this. Right now, we have something going on. We have a secret plan that no one's allowed to know about. So leave my man alone because he's working on some stuff, some high level stuff right now. All right? Don't mess with his high level stuff. He's trying to be rich. So that's part of it. Sometimes it's putting kids in groups when they're doing activities and being strategic. So having like a strong reader, a strong speaker, and then, other elements in there as well. So like maybe some of your struggling readers or writers are in there as well. That has had a really great effect for us as well. Sometimes doing audiobooks, because there's a tremendous amount that students can grow by just listening to audiobooks. So if you have a student that's dyslexic, not making them learn to read, right? This woman that I met, I think her name was Jolene, who gave me one of the best pieces of advice ever. We were talking about dyslexia, and I said, but isn't it, if a kid has dyslexia and they are not reading like from a book, isn't that problematic for them? Because they're not like learning fluency, they're not learning how to read, they're not learning how to like any number of things, right? So I was having this conversation, and she said, if you had a student that was hearing impaired, would you not get them a hearing aid? If you had a student that was blind, would you just put the book in front of them and go, bro, you gotta learn how to read. I don't care that you're blind, learn how to read. No, you get them Braille, right? You get them something that meets their difference so that they can find success in this, because it's about figuring out, why are we learning to read anyway? Why is that actually important? And when we can get kids dialed into why this is important, and we can give them the tools that they need to find success, I think that really helps. And so sometimes it's making slightly different worksheets for different kids, wording things differently, putting them in groups, or going around and working with someone one-on-one when the rest of the class is kind of like working on something quietly. You just go over to those students and you help them out, and know that what you're doing is building momentum in those kids, right? So it's, how do we build momentum? How do we move the needle a little bit to the left, and never, ever, ever thinking that you need to fix that kid or that it all needs to be done this year. What you're trying to do is find a kid that if you are in a grade and you're reading 2 grade levels behind, it means you have been disserved by the system. And so what you're doing is, to the best of your ability, seeing it, noting it, understanding it, and trying to move the needle to the left a little bit. And I think also communicating with parents and trying to find out what families have done, or what's been done, or what needs to be done, or what they think is going on there too, is going to help as well. That's a really wonderful question. Inoa, I think I'm saying that right. Inoa Lenamis? Edie's really doing great with this phonetic spelling situation, because
She knows you.
Yeah, she does. And if you're new here, I say name. I'm really bad at names, and because I think I am like a closeted dyslexic, and so too many vowels, like, they mess with my head.
How can we say an undiagnosed dyslexia?
Undiagnosed, not closeted.
Yes.
Sure, we'll go with that. I always say that I'm closeted Catholic also, because I just think that, like, there's a lot of Catholic stuff I love. A lot of Catholic stuff I don't get down with, but, like, man, those saints.
I think closeted Catholic works, but not closeted dyslexic.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you're right. Closeted anything just seems slightly
Yeah.
insensitive. No, I'm saying it out loud too.
Yes.
So maybe we should get away from that. But I know is asking here from Spain, or here in Spain. First of all, the fact that you're in Spain is amazing. The internet is a magical place, and I love it. Here in Spain, students don't move to our rooms. We move to their classes instead. What would you do to try and connect with the students? Go from desk to desk, or say something. Yeah. So I think in my regular school world, it's about being there. It's about being in front of kids as often as possible. So when kids come in the beginning of the year anyway, I'm always at the front door as they're coming into the school, saying hello, shaking hands with kids, right? In a COVID world, that's going to be different. I'm always standing at my door and I'm shaking hands and welcoming kids into my classroom during the school year. At the end of the day, I'm always in the hallway and I'm always saying goodbye to kids or messing with them in the hallway in any number of ways as they're leaving for the day. But that's another time that they're getting to see me. I also eat lunch with my students, and that's a time that they see me. So it's finding those in-between times. So even if you don't have your own classroom that the students can visit or know where you are all the time, it's about making yourself accessible as often as possible. And in doing that, if you think about, so let me say it like this. In Spain, I'm not sure, because I always think of Thanksgiving, but I realize that's an American holiday. When your family gets together, when you were a kid, there's always that one older aunt or uncle or cousin that is older than, the young bunch that you're kind of in the age range with, right? So like if I'm 7, 8, 9, 10, and my Aunt Kath that I grew up with, my Aunt Kathleen, was, in her 20s, she would always come down the basement and see what we were doing. She would always see what video games we were playing. She would always see what shows we were watching. She would always ask more questions than, hey, how's school? Great. All right, you playing sports this year? All right, cool. Where's your mom? And then they leave. That's what most adults ask. It's 100%, right? But asking like, yo, come here. Tell me about this shirt. What's your shirt say? Where's that hat from, man? That's a really great hat. What's this video game? All right, you got to break it down for me. I don't understand what's going on here. What are you trying to do? Trying to get that, trying to do this thing. Maybe playing the video game with them. Those were the cousins, those were the aunts and uncles that when you had a problem, you felt okay talking to them about. The aunt and uncle that came in and barely said anything to you and just pinched your cheek and went into the other room, they didn't get down with you. So it's about being around the kids as much as possible and being human with the kids as much as possible. Not just talking about school, not just talking about grades, not just talking about behavior, talking about regular, everyday stuff that your kids are into that excites them, and then learning about that and letting them be the expert on something. Woo! Let's go to Spain.
Okay.
All right?
Done.
Not until COVID's done, because I'm not getting on an airplane with all those people, but because I see the people at the food store can't even handle themselves. What do you got? Who?
This is a good one to end on.
Word. Okay. Laura is asking, hey, Reynolds, suggestions on uplifting colleagues who are negative or anxious about the return of the school year. I feel like I need to keep our environment positive despite the scary time. I'm going to say this. This is a great question. Laura.
That's from my ear.
Sorry. I apologize. I told you I'm feeling fiery today. I'm clapping again. I think that whenever something's fun, it's just better, right? I had this idea, I never actually implemented this, but I wanted to have elevator parties. We at our school have the slowest elevator ever. That we say, like, you know, when you see like an action movie and it's like the elevator closes just in time, ours wouldn't. Everyone would be caught in the elevator. The bodies would be disposed of and all the evidence wiped away before the elevator door even closed because it's so slow. However, that means that trips between floors are very, very long sometimes. So I always had this idea that I wanted to have me and 3 friends that would just ride the elevator for a prep period. When someone came on, the doors would close, and as soon as they closed, we would put party lights on, we'd play music, and we'd blow confetti all over the place. And as soon as the doors open, we would just go back to normal, right? It's just so dumb. It is ridiculous. It is the same reason that I do the floor is lava when I'm in the classroom. Great show, by the way, on Netflix if you haven't watched that yet. But where there are different color tiles on the floor and say, guys, yo, just so everyone knows, gotta stay on the blue tiles, all right? Floor is lava. And then I just act like that's real. Or I sit at the end of the hallway in a desk when Cho was doing hallway duty and I didn't have anything to do that period, so I would bring a steering wheel, and don't ask, I just happen to have a steering wheel in my classroom. And I would pretend that Cho and I were driving places. I would honk at kids as they got in front of us. You know, the same reason I blow bubbles in the hallway, the same reason I put fake flies on kids or put tape in their hair. What I'm doing is, it's not always about having the talk. It's not always about doing something that is like, let's talk about your problems. Let's talk about what's going on here. That is really important. Creating safe space, creating a Zoom call for people to just let go and sort of like have that explosion of anxiety. But sometimes it's about just changing the atmosphere. It's about just doing something that's ridiculous. Do you have other teachers that might be teaching live virtually that you can just pop into their class and you're dressed in some ridiculous outfit, or you come on singing a song in the middle of it, right? So you got to know your audience a little bit here too, but like to just show up and like do any number of dumb things, like just show up and because what that's going to do is sometimes those things just alleviate the pressure. They alleviate the anxiety. They make the moment a little bit less stressful because we all realize that, look, no matter what, I believe that human beings are going to be all right. I believe that we all get through this COVID thing at some point. Look, and I'm not saying everyone, right? I realize that this is very, very dangerous and that there are a lot of people that have died from this, and I'm not trying to minimize that at all. But overwhelmingly, I think this gets back to some kind of new normal eventually. I think that our students, my belief right now is that our students aren't going to be so lost at the end of this that they can't get back to it. That, you know, there were whole years in school that I did basically zero work and didn't do anything except for hang out with my friends. And I still grew up to be a fully functioning human being, right? That like it's found success in some things. So I think that's what I would do is one, creating space where you're just having drinks, having coffee, whether that's in person, distanced, or online, and just talking about stuff. And then also just not staying in that negative space, like showing up and just doing weird stuff. Like, I don't know, like when I used to go into people's rooms and change their pictures of their husbands or their wives, and I would put my picture in there instead. Or like I would call people's rooms and just, this is so dumb. I probably don't recommend this. I would prank call their teachers' rooms and just tell them dumb things or whatever. I don't know. So it's like, it's just doing stuff like that. It's sprinkling that magic. It's spreading that cheer. It's doing things that are just weird, because I find that the more I'm like that, I just am better off. The more ridiculous I am. So where's my new glasses? I went to the dollar store the other day and I bought a whole bunch of sunglasses and reading glasses, and I popped all the lenses out of them. So like, let's say I'm on a Zoom call and I'm wearing these, and I'm talking to the students and we're talking and talking and talking, and then I just have something in my eye. Every single time kids get weird. Or I would used to bring these to school and tell kids like, look, you're not paying attention. You're not doing your independent reading. But I think I know why, right? Hold on one second. If you wear these glasses, they are going to give you the magic ability to be able to hone into stuff. And it's so dumb. And everyone knows it's not real, but then they would put them on, and then every single time a kid goes, yo, Reynolds, these glasses really work. Can I borrow these for the day? You can, but if I hear from your teachers that you're screwing around, I got to take the glasses back because they got to get charged. They wore out. The battery wore out on them. So I got to, the magic needs to get infused back into them. And it's just like that kind of dumb stuff, I think, just really works. And it helps people, and it makes things not so serious. And when we're not so serious, I think it's a little bit easier to just let go of that anxiety, let go of that fear, let go of all the stuff that we're worried about for the year. So whether you start school tomorrow or you start school in 2 weeks, please keep in mind as you're getting ready in these last few weeks before school, or these last few moments before school starts, find something fun to do. Go outside and do some cartwheels, run through the rain, take a bike ride with your kids, go swimming, do something, because that movement and that silliness is going to be what is going to be able to propel you and help you to show up and be the best version of yourself. So that's it, gang. We are done. We are back. We're back next week. So we are taking the first vacation that we've taken in 4 years this week. So I'm not doing any social media stuff this week. I'm not doing any YouTube videos. I'm not doing any calls, none of that stuff. But I believe we'll be back next Sunday, but we're going to kind of feel that out as well. So because I realize that like people need this right now. So that's it, gang. Look, I hope that you are all safe and that you are all well, and that this school year is the greatest no matter what. And like that we get through this together, and we will see you next week. That's it, everybody. Peace. Hitting all the buttons to turn this